Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. When you are a ridiculously good virtual assistant, you strive to do better and to be better as often as you can, or at least you should. In this episode, we're going to talk about habits and why habits can make or break the success that you want to achieve, and how to break bad habits to create better ones. Today's quote is from corporate trainer and self-improvement expert Dale Carnegie. Feeling sorry for yourself and your present condition is not only a waste of energy, but the worst habit you could possibly have. Once again, not an uplifty kind of quote. Sorry, but it is true. If you're stuck, then you need to get moving in the right direction. You need to get moving at all. Staying where you are is not going to help anything. And it really is the worst habit that you can keep repeating. And it's also very, very easy to keep repeating. You know what it's like if you feel not so great about where your business is right now. It can be really challenging to find the motivation to move forward. So let's talk about how to break those bad habits and how to create some great new ones. How to break your bad habits and build better ones. Working alone every day can be a blessing, right? Especially for those of us who are control freaks anyway. But when we don't have to answer to anybody, sometimes it's easier to form bad habits that impact our day, our schedule, and even our whole business. If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, I believe, you really should. It's a great, great book to talk about the way we are using our time. The habits we have and the things that we naturally do every single day can often make or break our business. Success means something different to everybody. And sometimes when I ask people about their success, they actually shy away from telling me what they really want because there's this stigma, I think, anyway, at least there has been for me. I tell you guys all the time, I never wanted to be the $1 million VA, and I still don't. I want to be able to replace a corporate salary and make sure that I can still work from home and be my own boss. But success to some other people means being that $1 million VA, or it means something different to everybody. Everybody has a different level of success. And so sometimes when I ask VAs how successful they want to be, they feel like they need to express that as somebody who is very successful financially or has that dream lifestyle or something like that. And really, success is whatever you want it to be. We don't all want the massive success. Sometimes we just want to make a little bit of money and work from home. And sometimes we do want the yacht and, all of the world travel and the team and all kinds of things. And it's very important that you just define success that is what makes sense to you. Success as defined for you, really. But having said that, we still all need to get better at our business, no matter what our goals or our aspirations are. But increasing the level of success doesn't always mean taking massive action. I think that sometimes we get really stuck in the fact that if I want to grow, I have to do this really big thing. And it's really not. I tell you all the time that all you need to do is take one step forward every single day to be better tomorrow than you are today. In the Atomic Habits book, there's a really interesting statistic, and this is what it is. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you'll be 37% better by year end. I don't know how that math works out or how that adds up. It's probably something to do with 365 days in a year, but it does sound great, right? To be 1% better, which is very incremental. You just have to be a little bit better every day. And by the end of the year, it really adds up. I think that's the bottom line. And it echoes what I always tell you too. It means that if you have a business where you're earning, say, $2,000 a month right now, you can easily, by getting 1% better, and we know the size of 1%, at least I have, a vision in my mind that it's not a very big amount, right? You can easily be at 2750 by taking small steps every day, just by being that 1% better every single day. But it also works in the reverse. If you get 1% worse every day, you're going to decline down to zero, and probably much sooner than over the course of a year, right? So I like small steps. It's why I teach you guys small steps all the time. I see them working for me. They're the ones that I have the capacity for. And sometimes I wonder if I'm a little neurodivergent. I think a lot of us are, but I'm very happy with small steps. And that's why I teach them, because they work for me. And I do see them working for the VAs that I work with too. And really, they're just so much easier. Patience is a virtue. And I think that's our downfall most of the time. I know for me, if I'm doing something and I'm trying to create a new habit, I'm likely not waiting it out enough. I'm not being patient enough, right? And same thing with you. If you're not finding that the habits you're putting in or the things that you're doing every day are catching on, it's probably that you aren't patient enough to see them. But the good news is that it's really not your fault. It's not, you're not the one to blame. It's possibly, or it's probably the system that you have in place is not working. And it might not be working because somebody else told you to do it and it works for them, but it doesn't work for you. Or it could be just that you have set goals too high. That's actually the most common thing for me, the VAs that I work with, is that they are just setting way too, the goals way too big, or the steps are way too big. And so we get behind. And when we get behind, we get discouraged. And if things don't work out exactly what the way we want them to, or when we want them to, that's when we give up. Isn't it right? But the idea is that if you get a system that works for you, and that's my always my best advice, something has to work for you, has to fit into your personality, into your structure of work, your day, your schedule, everything, for it to work for you. But the nice thing is, what that means is there is a solution, and it will fix whatever is going wrong in your business. And that's what I want to talk about. So, first question, how do we get to where we've never been before if we don't know the way? And I think that that's one of the keys. One of the things that virtual assistants come to me for very often is that they don't know the steps to take to get to where they want to go. Whether it's getting a client, whether it is, setting their rates, whether it is firing a client, or just opening their business, just having a conversation, having a business conversation with somebody. If you don't know how to do what it is you're doing, that's the key thing that you need to get help with. And all it is a little bit of planning, a little bit of learning, and definitely some action. And that's a system, right? You need to figure it out. You need to learn what you need to know, and then you have to take action on it. And that's the thing that you have to put in place so that you can start walking towards that goal, whatever that thing is that you want. And it's different for all of us, and it's different many times for all of us. I could have a goal today of just getting lunch made. That's an actual goal. And it's not a very, exciting goal, but maybe you want to get to the end of the month without having to pay for something else. Or maybe you want to get to the end of the month and get a new client. There's so many different things that we want to be able to do. And the planning and the system of all of that, it all works the same way. We just do a little planning, we do a little learning, and then we put things into action. And the first thing that you need to think of, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Of course, we're not worried about, making lunch and those kinds of things on a regular basis, but if you're doing something business wise and it scares you, or it makes you nervous, or you're not really comfortable with it, the very first thing that you need to do is believe that you can get there. If you don't believe it, you're actually never going to get there. It's really important. You can't just hope to get a client. You can't just wish you were making more money. You can't simply want to be booked out, a booked out virtual assistant. You have to really believe that you can get there. And it doesn't mean that you need to know every single step, or you need to have 100% confidence behind you. You have to have confidence in the system that you're putting together, that plan, that strategy, that system. And it starts with the you that you're showing the world. If you are struggling in your virtual assistant business, no matter what level you're at, you're probably showing people that you're struggling. You might not think you are, but absolutely, when people look at you, if you are struggling, it's probably coming through. And so we call that the identity that, well, I think in the Atomic Habits book, actually, we call it your identity. And it starts with what you think of yourself. Like I say, if you don't believe that you're going to be able to achieve this goal in the time that you decide that you're going to set it, or that you're going to achieve it, then you're working against yourself. Who you believe you are
is what you have proof of. So here's I'll give you an example. If you think you are a VA with no clients, then that's something that you believe to be true about yourself, right? You believe that you're a VA without any clients. And that's what you're showing other people, whether you think you are or not. We talk about the laws of attraction and all those types of things. We talk about what the person in the mirror, we talk about doing affirmations, all these kinds of things, because we don't realize what we're putting out there to other people. You know, you've probably heard the term resting bitch face, right? So you see a picture of yourself and you look cross all the time, or that's what you look like when you're not actively smiling. My son called me out on this yesterday. He said, every time I see you, not every day, every time I see you yesterday, he said to me, you know, you have a scowl on your face. And I didn't realize, I was just kind of being. And so he called me on it and I didn't know. So it is really important that sometimes we're just not aware, right? And so what you're showing people is what you believe of yourself. And if you think that that's not a successful VA, and I don't want to use those words successful VA, that's why I'm saying if you're a VA with no clients and that's what you think of yourself, that might be the thing that you're putting across that you don't even realize you're putting across. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. The only thing that is true from the statement is that you are a VA that doesn't have clients right now, or doesn't have a client right now. Not that you are a failure at getting clients. You might have been not successful at it yet, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that currently that's your status, right? And so, do you see the reframe there? It's not that you're not able to do it, it's that you need to get some help to do it. And I think that when we shift it like that, when we do that little reframe, I think it makes a big difference in our attitude, but also what we're putting out there. And it's something that I work with VAs all the time on, is actually having conversations with people about how they can help the clients. And when you actually stop shying away from those conversations and you actually have a conversation with somebody who recognizes that you do have some merit and you do know what you're talking about, even if you don't have a ton of experience doing it, it pumps you up and it's really, really exciting. I've seen the transformation many, many times with lots of VAs that I've worked with. And think about it, there's that 1%. If you get 1% better at getting clients today by implementing a good plan, or developing that strategy, or putting a system in place, then you are on your way, aren't you? And honestly, if you're getting the proper help, if you're getting the proper support, you're learning that little learning piece, if that's good, you could get 10 or even 30% better at getting clients right off the bat. And once you get one client, then your identity has changed. You're no longer the VA that can't get clients. You're the VA that knows how to get clients. And so all you have to do is repeat the process that works for you. Isn't that cool? And then that's who your clients are going to see. That's who your potential clients are going to see, is that person who's excited. And trust me, it really does happen. When I do, it's sometimes I do private coaching with clients and get them there. Sometimes, honestly, it's my free cut to the chase calls. It's not. Sometimes there's just a little switch that we need to change so that we can make sure that we are doing the right things, saying the right things, and that we have a little bit of confidence behind us. And that's the learning piece, right? We do that planning, we do the learning, and we take action. And those are the three things that we need to do. It sounds really simple, I know, when I describe it like that, but it really is. And like I say, it's just that one switch that oftentimes is makes all the difference. And it's sometimes you have to get some guidance to make sure that you're understanding that. But think about it. One of the things that VAs tell me all the time when they're starting their business is they learn WordPress so they can build their own website, so they don't have to pay somebody else to build their website, because it seems like this is a very lofty expense. And if you're starting a business and you can't afford a couple of $100s to get a good website set up, then we want to think about what our priorities are, right? We really need to make sure that starting a VA business is very low cost, but at the same time, we need to also understand that we're going to have to spend money where we need to. So if you learn WordPress just to build your own website and you never earn money after that to use WordPress, then what is the point in learning that thing, right? It doesn't really make any sense. So you want to pay people for the things that you don't know about. That learning piece is really, really important. And then move yourself forward faster and work in your brilliance. And it's not a WordPress talk. I'm not going to, challenge you about whether you learned WordPress or not. But I think it is really important to look at those things. We set priorities that sometimes are a little off kilter because we're nervous or scared or worried. But I've seen VAs be a year behind on getting their business set up, and that's even generous in some cases because they still don't have their website done. And honestly, there are lots of places where you can get websites under $500, and I'm just quoting a blank number, but lots of places where you can get a quick website set up, not very expensive, and then you are on your way. So sometimes we use things for excuses as well. But anyway, my point is that you need to make sure that you're setting up a plan that's getting you to where you want to go in a timely manner and the smartest way that you can. And think about it. Who do you want to be? We want to get you to be that person, right? I'm going to jump off my soapbox now about WordPress and being who you are. And we're going to talk about habits. Habits are super important because these are things we do every single day without thinking. Routines can help us build good habits, but habits are really, really important to build for sure, but also to recognize. And I think that sometimes we don't realize what we're doing because partly because we work by ourselves, but also because they're just natural. It's just we sometimes chalk it up to being our personality, right? But one of the cool things in the Atomic Habits book is they talk about habit stacking. And this is one thing when we're starting to try to create new good habits into our business or into our day. That's habit stacking is a really good concept. So if you haven't heard of it, it basically means doing something when you're already doing something else naturally. And I'll give you a couple of examples around that. And what you're going to do is you're going to build a new habit that you want to do alongside the old one that you just naturally do. So here's what I mean. If you have your coffee in the morning, and lots of us have, if you don't have coffee, if you have your smoothie or whatever it is, if you are now, I hope you are sitting down and enjoying that and not just running around the house and drinking it all over the place. But if you're sitting down, what I do is I take out my phone, right? I absolutely do. I scroll TikTok, maybe I'll put on Netflix or something like that. And I will, or scroll through my social media, and I will drink my coffee, and that's what I will look at. And it seems like I'm just having my coffee, so I'm just going to waste a little bit of time. But think about it. If we did something different on top of that habit, because we know we're going to have the coffee in the morning, if we did something more productive, like maybe making a few notes about social media posts that we're going to create for the coming week or the coming month, something like that, we can build a new habit. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't scroll TikTok in the morning, but if you are struggling and you're worried about, time getting away from you often and that type of thing, we need to look for those pockets of time. And that's a really good pocket of time. What I do suggest when you're creating something like that, if you were going to make some notes about social media posts, I would create a template that you want to use. So again, we're giving ourselves every opportunity to be successful. So create a template of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever it is, or 4 topics and 4 things you can write about while you're having your coffee. I like to sit outside on my front porch or on my back deck and have my coffee and look around and, check out the weather and the scenery, all those kinds of things. It would be a good opportunity to be able to make some notes like that if that's what I wanted to do. And then the other cool thing about that is when your coffee's done, you have to get up and go and do the next thing, right? And so what you're physically doing there in that new habit that you're building is the note making time is done. When your coffee's done, you get up and you go on to move something else. So when you and it that's just an example, like I say, but I think it's a good one because I think it's something that a lot of us do. We have that morning beverage, whatever it is, and if we can take 15 minutes and really just enjoy the coffee hot, that's actually a big challenge for me some mornings, and sit down and do something that is productive, then you set your mind in a better place too before you even start your work. You're not now half an hour behind because you're still watching TikTok and your coffee's done. You're actually moving on to something else. And again, I think it stops the scroll. I think everything, it's like a win-win, right? To be able to do something like that. Actually, I'm going to challenge myself to do exactly that tomorrow morning because I think that that is something that I can get a lot more effective time use out of, and I don't have to worry about doing that later on in the day. Another example is walking the dog and listening to a podcast, right? A lot of people like to do that. When I go for my walks in the morning, I don't listen to a podcast. I listen to music because I kind of walk at the pace of the music and that type of thing. But I know a lot of people who listen to podcasts. But how about recording some notes or just trying to make some notes as you are going through your podcast. If you're listening to a lot of podcasts like this one and you're not implementing the things that you're learning, then there's an opportunity for you. It's another way to stack your habits, right? Don't just listen to the podcast. Use the tips that you're hearing to make your business better. Look for those 1% opportunities we're talking about. And being able to listen to a podcast and get through that is one way that you can do your 1% increase, right? Lots of different things. Getting up and brushing your teeth and then putting on your running shoes and going for a walk, that's mine. If I don't walk first thing in the morning before I do anything else, I don't walk. And so you can create whatever it is. And you're not trying to change the world. You're not trying to change a million things all at once. But if you can just take one extra thing and get it done while you're doing something else that you naturally do anyway, it's habit stacking and it's a really great way to start new habits. So, what about bad habits? This is what I told you I was going to help you do. Lots of bad habits that we have. I've sort of come up with a couple of examples. And of course, what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be those pop up notifications, is number one, right? It's a good example because I know that it affects a lot of us. What happens when something pops up? Actually, I just saw something pop up on my phone and I had to put my phone off to the side because it distracted me from doing my podcast, recording my podcast. So it is really important to identify our behaviors and what we're doing. So with a pop-up notification, what do? I instinctively, pardon me, looked over at my phone and I was thinking about what the conversation was with that person instead of putting my focus on what I'm doing. And it's really important to be able to do that. You're probably doing the same thing. You probably pick up your phone, you get distracted. Sometimes then we get into something that we shouldn't even be looking at right now. You lose time, right? A lot of VAs I talk to struggle because they say, I'm losing time in my day and I don't know how. The first thing I do is get them to start looking at their habits and the things that distract them during the day, but also really being clear on what they're doing. Because I think sometimes, I know lots of times we just don't even realize what we're doing. So, how to break this habit of getting distracted by your phone? Well, you leave your phone in another room. And I know that that's a panic issue for a lot of people, but here's what you can do. You're not going to lose your mind if you don't have your phone beside you for 30 minutes. Or you can start at 15 if you really have a difficult time with it. Set an alarm on your phone for 30 minutes from now and go and put it in another room. Not another room at, in the other side of the house, but one right beside you. Put it on a table 10 feet from you. It doesn't matter. So you're not looking at it. And set that alarm for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, or 2 hours. I like to take a little more time away from my phone than necessary sometimes, but you can start with 15 or 30 minutes, whatever doesn't drive you crazy, and set the alarm. When the alarm goes off, guess what? You're allowed to go and get your phone and you're allowed to check it, but you're going to recognize how many times or what anxiety comes up in you by not having the phone beside you. And I know a lot of people who have done this particular exercise. It's in a book that I read someplace. I don't think it's in the Atomic Habits book, but I've read a lot of business books in the last few years as part of my thought readers course or program that I've been in with my coach. And it's an excellent solution, and nobody worries about not having their phone beside them whenever you start to realize that you're getting more productive and you're getting things done because you don't have that crutch beside you and it's something that you don't even realize that you're doing. We get interrupted all day long. It is a really bad habit and we all need to break it. And then another way that you can kind of do things if you want to change things up, if you really don't want to put your phone in another room, is set an alarm on your phone and say, every day at 10 a.m., I will do whatever it is. And whether that means I will check my email or whether it means I will, close my computer and walk around for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whether I will go and make a cup of tea and sit on my front porch for 10 minutes. Set that alarm so that you know something's going to interrupt your flow in your process and you're going to be able to create a new habit. You're going to break a bad habit, maybe of working all the way through your day. I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of all the things that I teach you guys about. I know I tell you that all the time, but I really am. I do them all, and that's why I have so many great examples for you. But when we're trying to do better, these are the things we need to correct, right? How about creating a new habit around eating better, right? Eating a meal. One of the things you can do, I will fill, and these are little affirmations or whatever you want to call them. I will fill my plate halfway with veggies. That's honestly, it's amazing when you can do that. And then I will eat those veggies first on my plate. So I'm not going to start with the potato or, with the pasta. I'm going to start with those vegetables. I'll fill myself up before I eat the rest of what is on my plate. Whatever makes sense for you, you can use the creating new habits to get your 1% better, right? If you're shopping, when I buy something new, I will give something else away that I already own. I know that a lot of people technically have this rule, but do we really do it? I don't know. I think it's important. And when you change the way you think about things and you change your mindset and your thoughts from I have to do this to I get to do this, that can also be really helpful. When we're thinking about our business, we get to do so much, right? Think about when you got your business started, and we ask you all the time, why did you start your business? What is your why for being in business? We had some priorities that we really wanted to change, right? Some habits or whatever you want to call them from our job to being our own boss. What are those things that you knew that you wanted to be able to do? We want to change our mindset and say, I get to do those things, not I have to do those things. Like, for instance, if you're doing a client task and it's a client task that maybe you don't like it, or maybe you do like it, but it's just time consuming, or there's a lot of details and it's something that maybe you don't feel like you have the bandwidth for today. What do you get from doing that client task? You get more money, right? You get paid to do it. What if you are taking time to write your blog post and you're struggling with it, or you're having a, it's either taking a long time or you're not happy with how it's turning out? What do you get to do with that blog post? You get to showcase your expertise to great clients. Think about those things, right? Booking out time in your calendar on Friday afternoons. Go for a massage. That's something that you get to do. You get to book out your own time. And I know a lot of VAs who let the clients decide what it is that they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And when you change that and you say, I get to book my time out so I can go for a massage on Friday afternoon. That actually sounds really great. I feel like I want to book a massage right now. And then all you have to do is get your work done so you can treat yourself for that at the end of the week. It's really important to reframe to not I have to do something, but I get to do something. For a habit to become a habit, you have to practice it. And sometimes that takes a little more work than you think. Like I say, we don't want to lose our patience, right? We want to be really patient as we start to develop things. I think there's a statistic that it takes 21 days to build a really good habit. Well, if you use some of the tips that I'm giving you today and you say I can habit stack, or I can change my mindset, or my the way I frame things and think about the fact that I get to do something, and what do I get from doing this task? What do I get afterwards to do this from doing this task? I think it's really important to look at all of the things that can help us do things better so that we can practice them longer and they can become those good habits, right? It's all about thinking about what you get in the end of it. That can be a really, really good way to reframe it. Now, whether you are creating a good habit or breaking a bad habit, both of those things are going to make you better. And you don't have to do it all at once. In fact, I recommend that you don't do it all at once. I recommend that you just do that 1%, 2%, 5% difference and just do things really incrementally. I think that if you create a bad habit, or if, pardon me, no, we don't want to do that. If you want to create a new good habit, work on that for a little while until that becomes sort of second nature. And no, things might not happen as quickly as you want them to, but you need to know that you're always going in the right place. And it's like when we ask our clients, what do you need to get off your desk first? Look at those habits. What do you need to get off of your desk first? What bad habit do you want to break before you create a new habit? Or can you habit stack those? And can you say, if I break this bad habit, I can stack on a new one instead. I can put a good habit in its place. Like we are talking about scrolling TikTok earlier. I love TikTok. Don't get me wrong. I spend an inordinate amount of time on TikTok. So does everybody in my family. But if that's what I'm doing when I'm drinking my coffee, and I know that there's better things that I could be doing because I'm running out of time during the day to do the thing that is not getting done. Maybe I create that habit and maybe I have it stacked right on top of that coffee. And that's when I write those social media posts or brainstorm the social media. I think that a lot of us get really bogged down in what do I post and what do I find is I find that I'm inspired by other people, but use that coffee being done as the end of the habit. It's really, really important. Think about the things that you did today, right? What all of the things that you did, whether you created a new habit, broke an old habit, or whatever, what did that get you? Remember, we're thinking about all of the results that we're going to get. So, what did you get? Did you get some more time? Did you get less anxiety? Are you less anxious because you did that thing? Do you earn more money? Or did you get more clarity around something that you didn't have clarity around before? Think about whatever the habit is, good or bad, by changing it, what is the benefit to you? I think that that's really important. And if you use a habit tracker, and really a habit tracker can just be a notebook, right? You just need to write things down. Think about what it is that you did and then process that. The journal will help you see the results you're going to achieve and say, wow, you know what? I am at the end of the week, I'm doing a lot better with my eating, or I'm doing a lot better with taking breaks, or doing a lot better with not getting distracted by my phone because that you can see it in your habit. I guess it's a habit tracker. I'd call it a journal. It's the same thing. Wherever you're going to write something down. I did start walking every morning a couple of years ago, and honestly, it was a faster transaction. It was a faster. It happened faster than I thought. I immediately, within 1 week, felt that my belly got tighter when I was walking. Part of it because of not just because of the distance I was walking, but because of our posture, right? So my posture was better. I started taking a shower earlier in the day. I used to be a 4 p.m. or sometimes 8 p.m. shower person because I would just get up and go straight to the office. Taking a shower earlier in the day. So what? Then I was able to do more video because I felt that I was, clean and ready for the camera and all those kinds of things. I definitely started dropping weight. I lost 30 pounds whenever I did my original walking program. But I also got a brand new 2 hours every single day in my day. These are the benefits that I got just from implementing a walking program. Also, my blood pressure came down. I was advised by my doctor to eat more fruits and vegetables and walk. And so I did those two things. I did that half plate of veggies and I actually, was walking. I was walking up to 7 kilometers a day. Not because I couldn't walk eight, but because my route took me 6.5 or 7, and I really liked the route that I walked, and it was really terrific for me. So, but I think it's really important that I had to do it at that time of day because later on in the day I would make an excuse or I would be tired or I just would not get it done. So being able to move that habit to the very first thing in the morning, like what am I doing in the morning? I wake up, I brush my teeth, I put my shoes on. I don't have anything in my calendar. There is nothing that I should be doing at that time of day other than sleeping or looking at TikTok. But that was the key for me is getting up and putting my shoes on and getting out of the house when I didn't have anything else to do. And then when I came home, I was still way ahead because if I was at home and I wasn't going out walking, I would not have gotten up that early and I would have, well, I did have bad habits in the morning. So those are really important. And I hope that I'm reinforcing the way that you want to be able to create those good habits, new good habits, or getting rid of those bad habits. It's all about being really aware of what you're doing and being really aware of what is working well for you and what is not working well for you. And then finally, I want you to work with an accountability partner or a mastermind group. There's really nothing like support to get you to where you want to go. We try to do so much on our own, and we think that we are, well, I guess that's one of those things we think we can do or that we get to do. But I have found I've had so much more success. And the VAs that I've worked with too, whether I'm privately coaching them or whether we're working in a group program or something like that, always get better results whenever they're sharing and talking about the good things and the bad things in their business. They get advice and support, but they also feel better about the decisions that they're making and they get more confidence because you're having a conversation about it. You can hear the words coming out and you can have somebody who desperately wants to support you to get you to where you want to go, right? Because they're in the group for the same reason. An accountability partner is exactly the same thing. I don't know where I'd be without my accountability partner for sure. And always remember that what works for somebody else may not work for you. You may have to find out what works for you the hard way, but having a trusted community is something that can really help that move along a lot faster. It's just a really good idea. And I think that you get the push you need, you get the support you need, and they really do genuinely care about where you are going and helping you to get there. Keep things simple. Don't do too much at once. Like I said, if you're maybe you want to quit that bad habit first, or maybe you need to create a good habit before you can get rid of a bad habit. Only you will know. Everything is different for you than for everybody else. And you get to choose, you get to decide. Track your progress and make sure that all of the successes that you're having, or even the differences, no matter how small they are. Write those things down and really look at them at the end of the day, at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, and share those with the people in your trusted community. I think it's really important. Move yourself forward one step at a time. Get a little bit of confidence. Move forward faster as you get that confidence. It's so funny whenever I'm working with virtual assistants who are terrified of having business conversations or sales conversations, discovery calls, whatever. And then they go and do one or two, and their whole demeanor changes because then they realize they're just helping clients and they're not trying to sell anything to anybody. They're just trying to see if they can help this person. And if they can, it ends up being a really great conversation. And if they can't help them, that's also glaringly obvious. And so that just means no is a no, and we'll move along to somebody else. It's not personal, it's just business. And I think that that's one thing that really I love to do when I end up talking to virtual assistants about it. Is I love to hear the follow-up, and I love to hear the difference in the way their voice sounds and just their confidence and their attitude. I think it's really important. You can move forward a lot faster once you start taking the correct steps, right? And definitely on Friday, book in that massage. Like really, I honestly think I'm going to do that. Not this week, but next week for sure. So that is all I have for you. If I can help you to start changing your habits in your business, I would love for you to reach out to me at tracy@yourvamentor.com. I honestly have helped hundreds of VAs through lots of different challenges, big ones and small ones, and I've gotten them on their way to the next thing. I would love to do the same thing for you. I do private coaching, and my new mastermind, the Virtual Circle, is kicking off very shortly, maybe even today. Maybe one of the options that I have is right for you. That is all I've got for you today on habits. So grateful for you for tuning in and learning how to become a ridiculously good virtual assistant. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.